ओम गणानां त्वा गणपतिं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनशृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनं श्रीमहागणाधिपतये नमः। सदा गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। Om. Dear friends, we are about to read this 22nd shloka of 5th adhyaya. In the last class, I just read out and explained the shloka, overall meaning of the shloka. We have to start the bhashyam. The shloka is like this: Yehi samsparshaja bhogaha dukkha-yonaya evate adyantavantah kaunteya na teshu ramate buddhaha. Buddhaha, an intelligent person, he does not indulge in, or he does not revel or rejoice in, he does not have a rati. Rati means excessive liking for that, an infatuation for that. So that infatuation is rati. That rati is not there in what? In the samsparshaja bhogaha, in the experiences which are derived from the senses. All the sensory experiences, that is what is called vishaya bhoga. He will not have any such infatuation for them, because they are the cause of misery, and then they are also adyantavantaha. Two reasons have been given. They are causes for misery, and how they are causes of misery Shankaracharya is going to explain. And adyantavantaha, they are adimantaha, antavantaha. They do have a beginning, they do have an end. Today you have something and tomorrow you don't have, and then that itself will be another cause for misery. Kaunteya na teshu ramate buddhaha. If they just come, okay, you accept it as they come and go, but do not get infatuated, do not get addicted to that. So that is the picture here. And gradually that upeksha is just ignoring all these things. Apetsha is desiring, upeksha is ignoring. Upeksha is being advocated in the last two shlokas also. That's 20th and 21st and 22nd, all the three shlokas, they advocate this virtue of upeksha. Let us read the bhashyam. Ye hi yasmat samsparshaja vishayendriya samsparshebhyah jataha bhogaha bhuktayah dukkha yonayah eva te avidya krutatvat. So why are they dukkha yonayah? Because they are all because of avidya. Avidya is what? Avidya is seeing duality. Avidya is seeing inadequacy in yourself. Avidya is trying to get happiness from some external things. So this is what is called avidya. And then once you have a sensory perception or some sort of happiness from something which has been derived by the senses, once that sensory perception is over, that is gone. And then you want something more. Because desire is something which is not satiated once you try to fulfill it. The more you give, the more it wants. We have also seen a shloka earlier. Kama, or a desire, is something like a fire. The more you fuel you put, the more it burns. And the more you put, it will not get satiated, or it will not get subsided. The more you put, the more it will burn. Najatu kamah kamanam upabhogena shamyati. It is compared to a fire which kindles more and more, even as you put more and more fuel into that. So the desires are like that. So that is why ye hi yasmat. He means yasmat, because samsparshajaha. What is samsparsha? Vishaya indriya samsparshebhyah jataha. Vishaya and indriya, they come into contact. Vishaya means an object, indriya is the sense. These two things come into contact, and this gives pleasure. And this bhoga. Bhoga means enjoyment or experience. Let us say bhuj dhatu means eating. Literally it means eating or experiencing. It can be a good experience or a bad experience, a bhoga. Then dukkha yonayate, they are the cause. Dukkha yonayah means dukkhanam yonayah, dukkhanam karanani. That is the cause of all the dukkhas. Te avidya krutatvat. Drishyante hi adhyatmikadini dukkhani
आध्यात्मिकादीनि दुःखानि
तन्निमित्तान्येव So say drushyantehi, because it is also seen. It is also seen. Adhyatmikadini dukkhani tannimittanyeva. All this adhyatmika dukkha, adi bhautika dukkha, and adi daivika dukkha. There are three types of dukkha, three types of shanti we talk about. Adhyatmika, adi bhautika, adi bhautika. Three levels we talk of. Adhyatmika is relating to the body. Adi plus atma. Atmani adi is adhyatma, something to do relating to the body. Adi bhautika, something to do with the surroundings. Suppose the room is quite hot and then we are not able to sit here. Outside you can't move out. There is some problem outside. Then adi daivika, something which is became because it is due to some divine intervention. There is some huge calamity, something like Kedarnath, but then what has happened in Kedarnath and Badrinath, that is a adi daivika dukkha, something which is not in human control. So that sort of thing. So these are all the dukkhas which are say due to this adi bhautika dukkha is again something due to ignorance. Adi daivika, adhyatmika dukkha is again due to ignorance, because the adhyatmika dukkha, whatever happens to the body is, the wise man has to think that it is something to do with the body-mind complex and not to do with his atma. So these are the dukkhas which are tannimittani. Tannimittani means due to avidya kruta. Tat means here it is referring to avidya. Avidya nimittani. They are all due to this avidya only. Then yatha ihaloke tatha paraloke piti gamyate eva shabdat. Okay. Because this dukkha yonaya eva, they are only that. That means emphasizing, very emphatically it is being told. Very emphatically it is being told that they are dukkha yonaya. They are the cause of all misery. So that is why he says, yatha ihaloke tatha paraloke api iti gamyate. So after all, sukhas, they are in two categories. One is the sukha which you get in this world. The other thing is the sukha which you get in paraloka. That is the swarga sukha, what you call. You do a lot of punyam, you do some yajna, yaga and whatnot, and then you get a lot of baggage of punyam, and then you go there. And then that again, there is a tenure for that. And as long as you are there, there is a sort of lingering fear that once this tenure is over, you have to get back. In fact, some time ago, I told you a story from Mahabharata, where one king, he enters into a sort of dispute, argument with the devas there. No, I have done a lot of punya when I was a king. A lot many good deeds I have done. I have to stay longer in this, say, heaven. So then there is a big dispute. And then dispute, how it is resolved, there is a long story. I think I told you last time. They come to the world and then some mediators, they come and then they try to examine as to, say, whether his kirti or yashas, if his yashas is still there on the ground, on the bhuloka, then he can still be there. If his yashas has gone, suppose he has been forgotten by all the people in the world, then he has no business to be there, he has to come down. So they come here and then they see, they talk to one longest living say being, some animal, that happens to be one tortoise which was staying in a pond. So that tortoise says, yes, I do remember this Indradyumna. This gentleman, in fact, he was washing the feet of all these scholars, and then he was giving so many danams and all that. So this is the feet, this is the place which was actually trampled upon by so many lakhs and lakhs of cows, and which were given in the danam, as a danam to all those people, Ritviks and people like that. And because of this trampling, there was a pond which formed here. And I am staying in this pond. Yeah, I do remember this gentleman. So then gods say, okay, yes, you can be there for some more time. till that tortoise dies. So as long as your name is talked about on the heaven, on the earth, you have some place in heaven. And then, so that is again something. So you need some historians and some people to tom about you and then perpetuate your name on the ground, on the bhuloka. So, yatha ihaloke tatha paraloke api. Because that shine punye martyalokam vishanti. Gita itself is saying, shine punye martyalokam vishanti. Once the punyam is gone, shinam, once punyam is diminished, shinam is diminished, martyalokam vishanti. Martyalokam means the loka of mortals. Martya is a mortal. Martya is mortal. Then Martya loka, the loka of mortals, that is this Bhuloka, they vishanti, means they come back, they enter the Martya loka. So that is it. So like that, when you are there in heaven also, there is a lot of tension. There is a lot of tension that you will be thrown out, the tenure will be over, and then there again there will be some jealousies. So someday you want something, and then that thing, say somebody else also will be equally interested in Rambha, Urvashi, etc. So all types of dukkha yonaya. Then na samsare sukhasya gandhamatramapyasti iti buddhva
सुखस्य गन्धमात्रमपि अस्ति इति बुद्ध्वा
विषय मृगतृष्णिकायाः इन्द्रियाणि निवर्तयेत् stop. So indriyani nivartayet. So you have to withdraw the senses from all these vishaya sukhas, that is the pleasures arising out of the contact of senses with sensory objects, that is vishaya indriya vishaya sanyoga, that is contact of senses with the sense objects. Now vishaya mrugatrushnikaya, this vishaya is a mrugatrushna. Mrugatrushna, you know, mrugatrushna is a mirage. It is there, and then you go near and it is not there. So this vishaya samyoga is also so temporary. It is so temporary. It appears to give some happiness. It does not give you happiness. Ultimately it is going to give you some grief. So, gandha samsare sukhasya gandhamatramapi nasti iti buddhva. Gandhamatramapi, not even a whiff of happiness. Gandhamatram, gandham, you know, gandham is scent or fragrance. Gandhamatra means not even a small iota of fragrance is there. Not even an iota or a whiff of smell, whiff of that is there. So that having known, you have to withdraw your senses. So that is what he says. न केवलं दुःखयोनयः आद्यन्तवन्तश्च आदिः विषयेन्द्रिय संयोगः भोगानाम् अन्तश्च तद्वियोगः एव अतः आद्यन्तवन्तः अनित्याः मध्यक्षणभावित्वात् इत्यर्थः. So न केवलं दुःखयोनयः, न केवलं means not only are they the reason for dukkha, but then adyantavantah, that is having a beginning and having an end. You have a pleasure sometime, and then that pleasure's tenure is over. Here, of course, there is another commentator, Madhusudana Saraswati. I keep referring to him. He refers to one Patanjali Yoga Sutra. This Patanjali Yoga Sutra is the Sadhana Pada 15th Sutra. That's it is in 2-15. If you want, you can note down. I don't think it is there in the text. Madhusudana Saraswati Vyakhya. He refers to one sutra of Patanjali. Parinama Tapa Samskara Dukkhaihi Guna Vritti Virodhacha Dukkhameva Sarvam Vivekinaha. He describes, Patanjali is a great psychologist. Patanjali Mahabhashya, if Patanjali is not Mahabhashya, Patanjali's Yoga Sutra and all the commentaries which are written on that, if you read, all the modern psychology is reflected in that. In fact, most of the things which are told in modern psychology are just rephrasing or rewording of some of these concepts which are here. For example, the very idea of stream of consciousness, which the psychologists talk about. He says, Chitta srotah vahati punyaya vahati papaya. Chitta srotah, that is this thought, this stream of consciousness. That is what is called Chitta srota, which they have translated as stream of consciousness. So like that, some of these things which are there in this Buddhism, some of these things which are there in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, if you see that, and also some of the things which are there in books like Gita and Upanishads, these are the things which give a lot of insight into human personality. What we call meditation is now called something called mindfulness by the psychologists there. So like that you get a lot of psychological insights. So here Patanjali is analyzing three types of dukkha in three types. Parinama dukkha, tapa dukkha and samskara dukkha. Parinama tapa samskara dukkhaihi gunavritti virodhacha. Dukkhameva sarvam. He says everything is associated with dukkha or misery. How? There is what is called a parinama dukkha. Parinama means a consequence, a result of something. Something we have done, that is what is called parinama. The easiest example is some late night party. Late night party you go, and then that is also called in Panini Vyakarana, it is called khadata modata. Khadata modata, there is a beautiful word in Panini Vyakarana which says this is something like a gala party, let us say. A gala party, you have a lot of drink and a lot of dancing about, and then you next morning you sit and then you can't get up, and then there is a lot of hangover. So this while at the time of enjoying it was okay, but on the next day you feel the pain. Just a very simple example. There can be very many examples of parinama dukkha. Today you are eating something, tomorrow you eat more and more, and then that will lead only to misery. So suppose you relax today, you are preparing for some exam, you are supposed to read for an exam. Now you are relaxing today, and then all through the year you relax, and then at the time of exam you go and try to write the exam, and then you can't make the exam. So that is again this sukha, whatever sukha you had, the parinama is again ending in misery. So this is the type of parinama dukkha. Tapa dukkha, tapa means feeling agitated, tapam. You know, tapa, it means there are two meanings for the word tapa. Tapa means tapa alochane. Tapa, actually tapas, what we say tapas, is also from the same root. Tapa alochane is one. Tapa meaning burning also is another meaning. So burning gives both light and also heat. So burning, if it gives light, if it throws more intelligence, more awareness, it is welcome. But if it only burns the man from inside, there is an alochana which is going to liberate you. There is also an alochana which will burn you. There are two types of alochanas. If you do alochana or thinking about, say what is there, suppose you take a line from Gita or a verse from Gita, and then you start contemplating on that. That is something which will free you from so many things. It will liberate you. But on the other hand, if you think of somebody else, you are living in a nice house, and then you think of somebody who is living in a better house, or you are having one gadget today, you see somebody else having a better gadget, and then you feel, even as you are having something, you are not totally deprived. Even as you are having something, there is a sort of comparison. In comparison to that, this is bad. In comparison to so and so country, our country is bad. In comparison to somebody else, I am bad. So this is a sort of tapa dukkha. Then the third one is samskara dukkha. Samskara, you know what are samskaras? There is some experience. After the expiry of that after that experience is over, that experience leaves some sort of impression in your mind, a sort of some impression which is there, that memory, that smriti, that samskara, it generates a particular, not generates, some sort of indelible impression it leaves in the mind. So that is what is samskara. So you had some experience sometime earlier, so that you recall today, and then you feel either good or bad about it. You feel good, okay, at that time, okay, when my son was here, we spent very good time, we enjoyed and all that. Now my son has gone away, or my children have gone away. So that is again a pleasure which is associated with pain also. Some pleasure which was there, and some pain also. Or it can be something else, okay, this fellow has done harm to me. That you recall, and then you keep worrying about it, and then you promote hatred. And then samskara dukkha can sometimes be a collective samskara dukkha also. Collective samskara dukkha means, now we see very much, in fact, collective samskara dukkha, I am telling about this because I recently read one article called, what is called victim mentality. In fact, an American writer has written a book called Victim Mentality. Victim mentality is that sort of psychological aberration where you feel that you are a victim. You feel that you are a victim of circumstances. So why you did not pass the exam? Because over a period of time, my caste has been deprived by all these people in India. So it is a type of victim mentality. Now there is no social discrimination, there is nothing. On the other hand, government may be giving you all types of scholarships and then giving free food and whatnot, including some chicken, mutton, etc. And even if a person fails half a dozen times, so a man still gets a scholarship, a man still stays in the hostel, a man can still come onto the roads and throw stones on buses and whatnot, and still he is unhappy. He feels he is a victim. He has been victimized by so-and-so community, he has been victimized by so-called, say, other communities. So this sort of victim mentality is sometimes which is promoted by the political parties also. This victim mentality is something where he feels rather, say, there is some little bit of pleasure, there is a little bit of pain also. So all this pain is something which is adhyastha. This is not natural pain. This is something like when what we call in Vedanta, something like a Vedanta word. If we can transport there, you can say that it is adhyaropita dukkha. It is not actual dukkha. The chap is quite happy. He should be quite happy. He has no reason to be unhappy. But still he feels, oh, you see, over a period of time, over centuries, we have been exploited. We have been suppressed and whatnot. So that is again a feeling of dukkha. That is a sort of samskara dukkha, a sort of collective samskara dukkha, a sort of victim mentality. Then somebody else can have some other type of victim mentality. Oh, these people, they have invaded our country, they have did so much of damage to us. So this sort of mentality can be there. And then thinking about that, I will nurse some type of enmity to them. In fact, sometimes we have some arguments with some of these, say, religious leaders. Oh, instead of reading Gita and then instead of feeling happy to see how great a book Gita is, how great means how egalitarian, what sort of great values are being propagated by our Upanishads and Gita. Instead of doing this, we try to define ourselves in terms of our enmity with some other fellow and then feel bad about it. Where is the need to feel bad? We need not define ourselves in terms of our enmity with some other fellow who is converting people or who is doing something else. We can as well, if you like your book, you read your book. But reading Gita or Gita Bhashyam is more difficult, but abusing others is easy. So that is why we don't read Gita Bhashya. Even the great religion, all these people who talk about our religion, they don't read Gita. I always say, please read Gita. You are so many people in number. How many have you read Gita? How many of you have read Gita? Not a single man raises his hand. So nobody reads Gita Bhashya, but he is prepared to abuse the other, say, man of other religion. So that is another, this is again another samskara dukkha. This is another samskara dukkha which has been created by some propaganda. So the political parties, they take full advantage of this samskara dukkha or victim mentality. So this type of dukkhas, they are there always because the guna vritti, he uses another word called guna vritti virodhacha. We know that there are three gunas, sattva, rajas and tamas. So he writes another line, Madhusudana Saraswati, sattva rajas tamamsi sukha dukkha mohatmakaha paraspara viruddha svabhavaha api tailavarti yajnaya iva deepam purushabhoga prayuktatvat antadu. So that's what he says. So he says, gunas, this sattva, rajas and tamas, they produce three things called sukha, dukkha and moha. Sattva produces sukha. Because of that element of sattva in us, we feel that happiness. And because of that feeling of rajas in us, we feel that say sukha, dukkha. This feeling, this happiness should always be there. This happiness I am going to lose. So that sort of dukkha is there. Then rajas, tamas is there. Tamas feeling in us, it will lead you to moha. You get deluded in that, or you feel you become an addict of a drink, you become an addict of something else, some other drug or something like that. So this is these three gunas, they have three different characteristics. One produces sukha, one produces dukkha, one produces moha. And these gunas are always together. If we say that somebody is a sattva pradhana, it does not mean rajas and tamas are not there. Rajas and tamas are also there. They may be in a smaller proportion. So like that, because of this combination, it is like he says, tailavarti yajnaya iva. Tailavarti. You know, when you are doing puja, how many varti you put? Three varti. There is a mantra also which says, Sajyam Trivarti Sanyuktam Vanhina Yojitam Maya. So when you are when you are showing deepam to the god, there are three vartis. I was also wondering why there were three vartis. Three vartis means three pieces of that cotton thing which are which are kept there together, and then all the three vartis are they are kindled. Then they are light, they are lit rather, and then you do this what is this deepa? You present that deepa to the Lord. Then what is that? Sajyam trivarti sanyuktam vanhinayojitam maya gruhana mangalam deepam trailokya timirapaham. So this will avoid, or this will drive away the darkness of all this Trilokyam. Trilokyam is the whole universe, the world. So this darkness of this whole world is going to be driven away by these three lights. How is it? So these three vartis, they represent the Sattva, Rajas and Tamoguna. Once you burn away your Sattva, Rajas and Tamoguna in front of the Lord, then you will lose the misery of all the whole universe. You will not have that misery. So that is the meaning in that when you have that Deepam, Deeparadhana mantra, let us say, while when you do that Deeparadhana, that is the meaning. In fact, this Madhusudana is almost referring to that Tailavarti Ajnaya Eva. So that is the meaning there. So like that, this Sukha, Dukkha and Moha, they are together. Pleasure is always inseparable from pain. When you have a pleasure, you always have a feeling that you are going to lose it, and that will again give you some pain. So like that, these things are always coexisting. So anyway, then Adyantavantaha Adihi Vishayendriya Sanyogaha Bhoganam. Adi means coming into contact, Vishaya Indriya Sanyoga, coming into contact of the sense with sense object. Then Antascha Tad Viyogaha. Viyoga means that is separation. This Viyoga is again, the Viyoga again, he also derives some pleasure in that Viyoga. A man, if you read Ramayana, it is really, when I first, long ago when I first read Ramayana, I was really surprised. Rama cries so much in that Aranyakanda when, say, this lady Sita has been abducted by Ravana. Rama cries like any, there is so much of poetry in that. Valmiki, he becomes so poetic in those passages. He becomes so poetic in fact, the words used there in those shlokas, they are so suitable for songs, and then it is such a melodious words are used there by Valmiki. And all those words, they describe Rama's feeling of that separation, that Viyoga. The word used here is Tad Viyoga. Aranyakanda, there are certain shlokas like that. And we know that there is a lot of love poetry which is based on this theme, that is Viyoga only. The feeling is the fellow is separated from the lady love, or the lady love is separated from this fellow, vice versa. And then there is so much of poetry written by so many poets all over the world. So that Viyoga is something which people, they derive some happiness also from that misery. So this misery and happiness, they almost coexist. In every happiness there is some misery. And in every misery, not necessarily there is happiness, because misery sometimes need not have happiness at all. Pain need not have happiness, but every happiness certainly has some misery. Adyantavantaha Anityaha Madhyama Shana Bhavitvat. Madhyama Shana Bhavitvat means what was not there earlier and what will not be there later, but Madhyama Shana, the present time. Madhyama Shana is the present time. At this time they are existing. That's all. Okay, next. Hey, Kaunteya. Na teshu ramate buddhaha. Bhogeshu viveki avagata paramartha tattvaha. Stop. Atyanta mudhanamevahi Vishayeshu ratir drishyate Yatha pashu prabhrutinam. So Adyantavantah Kaunteya. Kaunteya is the address. Hey Kaunteya, O Arjuna, na teshu ramate buddhaha. What is meaning of Buddha? Buddha means Viveki avagata paramartha tattvaha. Viveki, one who has viveka, that is discrimination, is Viveki. Avagata paramartha tattvaha, one who has understood that paramartha tattva, that essence of that supreme being. That supreme being is the Brahman or your own self. That is what is paramartha tattva, that supreme reality he has understood. So such a man, he does not ramate. teshu na ramate. He does not have infatuation for that. He doesn't get stuck to that. And that he does not show that rejoicing in that. He may have it. He may incidentally have it. Happiness comes and goes. Say sensory experiences, they come and go, but he will not get infatuated by them. So that is the meaning. Then mudhanam eva hi vishayeshu ratihi drishyate yatha pashu prabhrutinam. Shankaracharya is rather harsh. Only pashu prabhrutinam, those who are almost comparable to animals, comparable to pashus, only so those people who are atyanta mudhaha, those who are highly deluded. Pashu means, what is pashu? We also know the meaning of pashu. What? That which is bound. Pasha. Pasha is that rope which binds an animal. Pashu is that which is bound. So pashu is always, a human being can also be a pashu in the sense that he is always bound by so many things. He has got so many bondages. He has got so many links all around. So he has got so many slots everywhere. And then he has fixed his all his limbs in all those slots, and then he is bound by them. So that is it. Next, ayamcha shreyo marga pratipakshi kashtatamo doshaha sarvanartha prapti hetuhu durnivaryascha iti tat parihare yatnadhikyam kartavyam ityaha bhagavan. So this is a small avatarika for the next shloka. Ayam cha shreyo marga pratipakshi. Ayam cha means this also. Ayam means this also. Ayam cha, this also means the foregoing thing, what I am going to say. This also is what? Shreyo marga pratipakshi. Pratipakshi means an obstacle, enemy. Pratipakshi is an enemy. This is a commonly used word. Pratipakshi is an enemy. Enemy of what? Shreyo margasya enemy. This is the enemy or an obstacle in the path of that Shreyo marga, in the path of that supreme path. What is that? And also kashtatamaha doshaha. It is something which is very, very difficult, very difficult to surmount, which is very difficult to overcome. Doshaha, it is something which is a wrong thing. Then sarva anartha prapti hetuhu, and this is the reason for all types of anarthas, all types of say negative fallout, all undesirable things. This is the root cause for all the undesirable or unwelcome consequences. Then durnivaryascha, very difficult to surmount, very difficult to fight it. So iti tat parihare yatnadhikyam kartavyam, and in order to reject it, tat parihare means in order to reject it, in order to overcome it, yatna adhikyam kartavyam, you have to make a lot of effort. Yatna adhikyam means you have to make a lot of effort in that. Yatna adhikyam kartavyam ityaha bhagavan. So the next shloka. So he is talking about one great obstacle which is there in the path of Shreyo, in that Shreyo marga, and which is very, very difficult to surmount, and which is the root cause of all the undesirable consequences, all unwelcome things. So, and then in order to surmount it, you have to make a lot of effort. Yatnadhikyam kartavyam. So what is that he is saying? Let us read the shloka. Shaknoti haiva yassodhum प्राक् शरीर विमोक्षणात् कामक्रोधोद्भवं वेगं स युक्तः स सुखी नरः. So he is talking about what is called kamakrodhodbhavam vegam. Vegam, you know what is vegam? Vegam is speed. And then that speed of what? Kama and krodha. Kama krodhodbhavam vegam. This speed, the ferocity with which this kama and krodha strike you. Kama itself is okay, is speedy. Krodha is again speedy. When they combine, the ferocity is much, much more. So kama is desire, krodha is anger. Kama is a desire for a particular thing. And if you don't get that thing, or if it is obstructed by somebody else, you get that krodha. So these together, they create such a great ferocity in a human mind, a great ferocity, and then they come with such speed that a human being will not be able to withstand it. And a person who is able to withstand it, when in this world means even when he is alive. So who can withstand it? Only a jnani can withstand it. An ajnani cannot withstand that speed. An ajnani will be he will flow in that tide. It comes like a huge torrent, and this man will be moving he will be just going ahead, washed away in that torrent. Unless he is a jnani, only a jnani can stay, and then only a jnani can stop this particular kama krodhodbhavam vegam. So that is it. Shaknoti ihaiva yaha sodhum. Yaha, the person who. Yaha is the subject. The person who. Ihaiva. Ihaiva means here itself. Here itself means in this world, even when he is alive, even not after death or anything like that. Ihaiva yaha shaknoti sodhum shaknoti. Sodhum means to withhold, to resist. You have to resist that speed. Sodhum, sahadhatu. Sahadhatu, you know, that sahanam, you know. Sahanam. Sahanam is to tolerate. Sodhum, the sahadhatu, the word is from sahadhatu only. Sodhum means to resist, to withstand. To withstand, whoever shaknoti means he is capable of that. Whoever is capable of withstanding that speed. That is the meaning. Ihaiva yaha shaknoti sodhum. Sodhum shaknoti. Prak sharira vimokshanat. Sharira vimokshanat prageva. That is, prak means before. Sharira vimokshanat. Before the fall of the body. Sharira vimokshanam. Vimokshanam means leaving the body. Before you leave the body, you are supposed to control this speed. You are supposed to control this speed of this kama and krodha. Ihaiva, yaha, ihaiva, here itself, shaknoti is capable of sodhum, to resist, prak sharira vimokshana, that is even before the leaving of this body. What are you supposed to withhold? Kama krodhodbhavam vegam. This ferocity of these two things. Sa yuktaha, sa sukhi naraha. That man can be called a yukta. Yukta means yoga yuktaha. What is that yoga? When we talk about, when we are in this sannyasa yoga, we have to talk about sannyasa yoga only, or jnana yoga. You see, in Gita, you find this yukta, yogi, in so many places. So you, depending on the chapter, you have to take the meaning of the word yoga. In the chapter on Karma Yoga, when he says yogi, he is referring to a Karma Yogi. In the chapter relating to Bhakti Yoga, when he is talking about yogi, you have to think of a bhakta. In Jnana Yoga, if he talks about something called say the word Bhakti Yoga or Yukta, then you have to take Jnana Yoga. We are now in Jnana or Sannyasa Yoga. Sannyasa means coupled with Jnanam. We are not talking about empty Sannyasa. We are talking about real Sannyasa or Mukhya Sannyasa. So this Mukhya Sannyasi, Sa Yuktaha, that is, he is the real Sannyasi, Yukta. He is Yukta, Yogena Yuktaha. Then Sa Sukhi, he is the happy man. So that is the meaning. Shloka, is it okay?
Yes.
Then let us read the Bhashyam. Shaknoti utsahate ihaiva jivanneva yaha sodhum prasahitum sharira vimokshanat amaranat marana simakaranam जीवतः अवश्यं भावीहि कामक्रोधोद्भवो वेगः अनंत निमित्तवान् हि सह इति. Okay, shaknoti means utsahate, one who shows that determination, one who shows that courage, or utsaha, you know, that enthusiasm, one who is capable of doing it properly. Ihaiva means jivanneva, yaha sodhum means prasahitum. The same dhatu is used here, sahitum, prasahitum, sahadhatu. That one who is able to control it. Prak purvam sharira vimokshanat amaranat. Then this also we saw, amaranat means before death itself. Amaranat, marana paryantam, marana simakaranam jivataha avashyam bhavihi. For a man who is alive, this setting a boundary, marana simakaranam. Simakaranam means setting a boundary. He has set a boundary here. Prak sharira vimokshanat. He has set up a target or a boundary. You understand the word? Sima. Sima, you know what is a Sima? Sima means you have this Rayala Sima. Sima is a boundary. For a country there is a border, that is called a Seema. Seema Suraksha Bal they say, that is the frontier. Seema Karanam means setting up a boundary. What is the boundary that is set up here? The boundary set up here is that Prak Sharira Vimokshanam is the boundary set up here. A boundary has to be set up because this man has to be, he has to prove his worth when he is here, not after death. After death anyway he is gone, dead and gone. So that Seema Karanam, he has to be a Jivan Mukta. Only then he will be able to control it. Only when, or in other words, if somebody is controlling this, he will be called a Jivan Mukta. So that is why that Seema Karanam, that setting of a boundary is there, because that is essential for somebody who is living. That Seema Karanam or a boundary, setting of boundary is essential because he has to jolly well achieve it when he is alive. That is the meaning. Jivanneva avashyam bhavihi kama krodhodbhava vegaha ananta nimittavan hi saha. This kama krodhodbhava vega, this speed or ferocity of it is ananta nimittavan. There are so many causes for that. Ananta nimittam. Nimittam means what? Nimittam is a cause. For some particular cause, I may get angry with you. Then that anger, in that anger, I will shout something at you. So there can be so many nimittas. There can be so many nimittas for this kama and krodha. I desire something, and suppose I say that something is resisted, I immediately get angry. Not only for ordinary people, even for great people. Even for very great people, you can see a great man, he may be trying to do something, and then there is a rivalry between him and another great man, and then he becomes so ferocious. So we sometimes see the so-called great people fighting, great intellectuals fighting among themselves. So this kama krodhodbhavam vegam is ananta nimittavan. There are so many nimittas, there are so many reasons. Starting from an ordinary person on the street who may be fighting for some small 10 rupees or something like that, up to a big man, up to a very enlightened man fighting for something else at a different level. So there are ananta nimittavan. Then yavan maranam tavan na vishrambhaniya ityarthaha. Ityarthaha. Yavan maranam tavan na vishrambhaniya. Yavan maranam means till a person dies, tavat, till that time, yavat tavat, till such time, yavat tavat, it refers to the time gap. Yavat, this thing will not, so far as this will not happen, this will not happen. So that is the meaning of yavat and tavat. Yavan maranam, till that time of death, tavat, till that time, na vishrambhaniyaha, it should not be trusted. Vishrambhaniyaha is, it should not be trusted. This is something which has to be always kept in mind, that is it. Because this anusandhana, Brahma anusandhanam, that is constantly reminding this Upanishad Vakyas, constantly dwelling on the meaning of these Vakyas. This is what is called anusandhana. Unless this anusandhanam is there, you will forget. So for this anusandhanam, I was I heard one Swamiji, that Anubhavananda, there is one Swamiji called Anubhavananda, he gives an example of that Anusandhanam. He gives the example of a musician, a singer, let us say. This musician, he sings in a particular Shruti. That Shruti may be a very high Shruti or a medium Shruti, or different levels are there. And once suppose he starts a song in a particular high Shruti, he has to continue in that Shruti only. He cannot be, he may be doing Arohana, Avarohana, that ups and downs he may be going up and down, but he will be in that Shruti only, and he will not come down to a low Shruti. So like that, our Shruti, coming back to our Shruti, in music Shruti is different. Our Shruti is what? Our Shruti is Upanishad, our Shruti is Gita, what he is saying. Our Shruti says Tattvamasi. Tattvamasi is something which this man has to always keep in mind. So like that singer or a musician keeps that Shruti in mind, and always that he is there in maintaining that level. An ordinary man, not ordinary man, a sadhaka who is in this spiritual path, he has to take this sentence like Tattvamasi or Aham Brahmasmi, and then he has to keep that always in his mind. When you go to your boss, you always feel Tattvamasi. When that man shouts at you also, you keep it in mind. When you are interacting with somebody else, you keep it in your mind. Try to do that for time say for the whole day, not only for the whole day. He is here, he says, Yavan Maranam Tavat na Vishrambhaniyam. So, so a jnani is one who is in that anusandhanam, in that stage of anusandhanam. He is constantly in that state of awareness. Once he is in that state of awareness, because we are going to see several passages, or we have also seen that indriyani pramathini haranti prasabham manah. These indriyas are something like horses. Indriyas are like horses, and the mind is the sarathi, buddhi sarathi. So these indriyas, if you just let loose, they just go in different directions and then hijack this mind. So for that, this buddhi has to be always alert, buddhi has to be always cautious. Like Vishrambhaniya, it should never be trusted. So like some organizations, they in God we trust, others we polygraph. And they say, God only we trust. So like that, Yavanna Vishmaranam, na tavanna Vishrambhaniyam. You are not supposed to trust this word. Trust this kama krodhodbhavam begam, because you can be swept away anytime by this ferocity or by this speed or gush of these two things. Then kamaha indriya gochara prapte ishte vishaye shruyamane smaryamane स्मर्यमाणे वा अनुभूते सुख हेतौ या गर्धिः तृष्णा स कामः. So he is defining what is kama. Kamaha, what is that kama? Indriya gochara prapte ishte vishaye. Indriya gochara. What is indriya gocharam? That which can be perceived by the senses. That which can be perceived by any sense. Any of the five senses is indriya gocharam. Then ishte vishaye. Ishta is something which is pleasing to the senses. It may be a nice food, nice drink, nice music, whatever it is. Ishte vishaye. Shruyamana, smaryamana va anubhute. Shruyamana, that is that which is present, right now present. Or smaryamana. Smaryamana means that which is recalled by memory. Smriti is memory, isn't it? Smriti is memory. Smaryamana means that which is being recalled. You had some nice gulab jamun yesterday and then now you recall it. You had a nice food, something else yesterday, and then you are trying to recall it and trying to rejoice in that. Then sukha smaryamaneva anubhute sukha hetau. In such sukha hetu which has been experienced by you, in that so-called object which has produced some sukham. Even the word sukham also we have to see. Sukham means, kham is indriyam. Sukham means that which is pleasing to the indriya is what is called sukham. Dukham is opposite of it. Duh kham. Kham is indriyam. Duh, that which causes pain to that indriya is called dukham. So, sukha hetau ya gardhihi trushna sa kamaha. Gardhi. Gardhi is the same as greed. Gardhi is same as greed. We have come across this word in Ishavasya also. Ma grudha kasyasvid dhanam. The first shloka, the first mantra of Ishavasya. Ishavasya medagam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagatu tena tyaktaiva bhunjithaha ma grudha kasyasvid dhanam. That grudha is same as gardhi. Gardhi means greed. The English greed and Sanskritam gardhi are one and the same. That is greed. Need is different from greed. As Gandhi's famous saying is there. The world has everything for everybody's need. The world has, it can fulfill everybody's need, but not one man's greed. That is one famous quote from Gandhi. So like that, Gardhi is greed. Greed to have more and more. Trishna, that Trishna also is a common word. That is a kamaha. That Trishna or Gardhi or greed is what is called kama. Krodhascha atmanaha pratikuleshu dukkha hetushu दृश्यमानेषु श्रूयमानेषु स्मर्यमानेषु वा यो द्वेषः स क्रोधः. So this dvesha means the feeling of enmity. The feeling of enmity arising on whom? Atmanaha pratikuleshu dukkha hetushu. Atmanaha pratikuleshu. That which is not pleasing to you. Pratikula. Anukula and pratikula. Pratikula means that which is opposed to you. Dukkha hetushu. That which is the cause of dukkha. That is unpleasantness to the senses. Then drishyamaneshu, shruyamaneshu, smaryamaneshu. The same thing which were mentioned here. Those which are present now, or those which were experienced earlier, say Drishyamaneshu, Shruyamaneshu, Smaryamaneshu, those which were experienced, or those which are recalled. Shruyamaneshu means that which is not in front of you, but then you know that something is there in America, or which is to your liking. That is the earlier example. The present example for in this dukkha hetu, something which is there somewhere else, but that can be a dukkha hetu for you. You have not yet seen it. So there are certain things which are seen and experienced, and they are dukkha hetus. There are certain other things which are not seen or experienced, but then they also become dukkha hetu. They are also shruyamaneshu. So that is it. Drishyamaneshu, Shruyamaneshu, Smaryamaneshu va yo doshaha yo dveshaha sakrodha. That dvesha is feeling of enmity. So that is called anger. Tau kama krodhau udbhavaha yasya vegasya sa kama krodhodbhavo vegaha. So kama krodha udbhavaha yasya vegasya. This kama and krodha, they becomes the origin. Udbhavaha means origin or cause. Udbhava means origin or cause. Kama krodha udbhavo yasya vegasya. The Bahurihi Samasa also he is explaining. Yasya vegasya sa kama krodhodbhavo vegaha. This kama krodha, they become the point of origin for this dvesha. A point of origin for this enmity, point of origin for this not enmity, ferocity, this speed, kama krodhodbhava vegaha. And then how he is again describing what are the characteristics of that. Romanchana, hrushta netravadanadilingaha, antahkarana prakshobha rupaha, kamodbhavo vegaha. Okay, kamodbhava, for kama, this vega, this gush of kama, this gush of desire, how is it? Then that what are the effect of that? Romanchana, suppose you see something very, very delightful, something very, very delightful, just unexpected, such a great delight. Then your body, your hair bristle, your hair stand up, that is called bristle, your hair bristle, and then you feel so elated, all of the whole body, what you call pulakincha in Telugu, your whole body bristles. So that is called romancha. Roma is, what is Roma? Roma is hair. Romancha is that hair bristling. Then hrushta netravadanaadilinga. Hrushta netravadanam. Your eyes, they become bright, and then your face becomes bright, and then you will immediately have a smile on your face. So that is the linga. Linga means indication. Vadanadi lingaha. Linga means indication. So this is indicated by this kama krodha, this kamodbhava vega is indicated by these things. What? This romanchana, bristling of hair, and then face and eyes becoming bright and then full of smile and whatnot. This is the linga or indication for this kamodbhava vega. Then gatra prakampa, prasveda, sandashta oshtaputa. So this is actually sandashta oshtaputa. We have to break it. Sandashta plus oshtaputa. Sandashta oshtaputa. Rakta netradi lingaha. Krodhodbhavo vegaha. So this krodha, this kama vega we have seen. Kama vega is okay, pleasant. Then here it is something which is unpleasant. Gatra prakampa. When you are terribly angry with somebody, your body will shake. Terribly angry. I don't know whether you have felt it ever. You might have felt it sometimes. Everybody feels. Gatra prakampa. The body, gatra means body. Prakampa, it shakes. Not out of fear, out of anger. Out of anger, you are so angry that your body shakes. You can see in some old Telugu movies, some actors, how they do that. Gatra prakampa. Then prasveda. This is you begin sweating also. Sveda means sweating. Sweat. Sveda is sweat. Prasveda. Sandashta oshtaputa. Then you keep oshtam is the lip. Sandashta oshtaputa. You bite your lips. Sometimes out of sheer great anger, when somebody is in great anger, you just grind your teeth and then bite your lips and whatnot. So these are all the signs of terrible anger. Sandashta oshtaputa. Rakta netradi lingaha. Rakta netra. Eyes become red. Rakta means red. Rakta netra means red eyes. So you start trembling, you just sweat, and then you just grind your teeth and bite the lips, and then again your eyes become red. So that is netradi linga. These are all the indications. This is the indication rather. Linga means indication. That is krodhodbhava vegaha. This krodhodbhava vega, this vega or this dash of this anger, this dash of krodha is characterized by, or it is indicated by these things. Then tam kamakrodhodbhavam vegam ya utsahate sodhum prasahitum sa yuktah yogi sukhi cha ihaloke naraha. So this gentleman who is capable of tam kama krodhodbhavam vegam. Tam means that one. Tam is in dvitiya vibhakti, that is in nominative case, objective case. Objective case, tam means that one, with that vegam, kama krodhodbhavam vegam, yaha sodhum utsahate, whoever is capable of, whoever bravely resists it, whoever bravely controls it, saha yuktaha. Yuktaha means jnana yoga yuktaha. Now we are in jnana yoga or sannyasa yoga. He is the real sannyasi. Yogi. Sukhi, yogi means jnana yogi. Sukhi, he is very happy. Cha ihaloke naraha. Ihaloke, in this world. So in fact, there are certain there is what is called a drushtaphala. Drushtaphala means known result. So whether you go to heaven or not, whether you believe in that or not, there is a drushtaphala. You can also believe in this drushtaphala. That is, somebody who is capable of controlling his anger, somebody who is capable of controlling these desires and angers, automatically his BP will be less. His sugar, he will not get sugar any time. So this is a sort of drushtaphala. This adrushtaphala, what Gita tells you may or may not believe, but at least drushtaphala is there if you are able to consciously control, if you are able to consciously practice, if you are able to consciously try to see what this Upanishad says, consciously see what Gita says about what is Brahman and what not, and then if you try to see, try to grow to that level, and then try to reduce your kama and krodha, the drushta phalam, or at least the seen result or immediate result will be reduction in BP at least. So, sa yogi, sa sukhi cha ihaloke naraha. So that is it. Is the time over?
3 more minutes.
3 more minutes. We will just read this shloka then. Katham bhutascha brahmani sthitah brahma prapnoti ityaha. So in this next shloka, katham bhutah means what type of person, katham bhutah, in what manner, staying in what manner, katham bhutah. Evam bhutah means a person who is like this. Katham bhutah means what type, by staying in what manner. So that is it. Katham bhutah brahmani sthitah brahma prapnoti. A person who is in that Brahman awareness, how is he going to become Brahman? He is going to say in the next shloka. This next shloka is again about we talked about 2 words, what is called Swarupananda versus Vishayananda. Swarupananda means one who by a proper understanding or awareness of his own self, he is happy, deriving happiness from within him. So that is Swarupananda. In addition, in contrast with the Vishayananda. So this next shloka is like that. Let us read. Yo antas sukhontararamaha. Actually, we have to read Yontas sukhontararamaha. Tathantarjyotirevayah. Sa yogi brahma nirvanam brahma bhuto dhigacchati. So here again he says sa yogi. Again the word yogi we have to see. That yogi, that jnani, that sannyasi, brahma nirvanam. Nirvana is again a word which we saw in the 2nd chapter also. Varnam is breeze. Nirvarnam, total breezeless state. That is absolutely, if you keep a lamp, the lamp that it will just not flicker. So that is the state what is called nirvana. So which means all the chitta vrittis have come to an end. all this the mind wandering about here and there, jumping about, mind is compared to a monkey. Quite often mind is compared to mano dhavati sarvatra. It is sometimes compared to a mad elephant, it is sometimes compared to a monkey which just moves around here and there, jumping around. So this mind will not jump around. There are no chitta vrittis. The chitta vrittis, they are all calm and they are focused on one thing. So that is what is called nirvana. So that Brahma Nirvanam, that Shanti, Brahma Bhutaha Adhigacchati. Brahma Bhutaha means one who has become Brahman. He will attain that particular state called Brahma Nirvana. Who is that? Yaha Antasukhaha. The one who is Antasukhaha. One who is happy within. Antaha means inside. Anta is inside. Sukhaha is happy. Antasukhaha, one who derives happiness from within. Then Antararamaha, all his arama means all his activity, all his krida, all his thinking, all his say mental activity, let us say, he is inside, he is within. Then tatha antarjyotireva yaha antarjyotihi. Antarjyoti means one who derives light from within. What is that light? We will see in the next class. One who derives light or illumination from within. We see light or illumination from the external objects. The senses, Indriyajanya Prakashatvam, Indriyajanya Prakashata, Indriyajanya Prakashaha rather. That is, Indriyas, they go out and then they get things to the mind, isn't it? So that is the illumination which normally mind gets. But here in the case of this gentleman, he is Antarjyotihi, he is deriving light within from himself. So such a man, Brahma Nirvanam Brahma Bhutaha Adhigacchati, he attains that Brahma Nirvanam by being a Brahman himself. So that is the shloka. We will see it in the next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.